The stock market. Now I'm a little more comfortable because I'm not an expert on real estate. So equity, of course, I started my career 31 years back in equity. I'm still there. So I think I should have got at least the basic knowledge by now. Why should I invest in the stock market? This is the first thing that I have to ask myself. Warren Buffett was called to address a group of students at a university. And the first question that was asked to him was, what is the best protection against inflation? It was a leading question, a loaded question, because they wanted him to give a long lecture on equity. His answer was a classic answer, very wise answer, and quite surprising. What he said was, the best protection against inflation is your own earning power. Look at the answer. The best protection against inflation is your own earning power. He never said it is a stock market. Then he says, if you are the best teacher, you will command earning power and get your share of the national economic pie, regardless of the value of the currency. He used the word teacher in the context of a university where he was teaching. If you are the best in anything, if you are the best in any line of business, any line of endeavor, you will always have an economic value. Somebody will recognize that expertise. Somebody will pay for it. You will command that earning power. What is he trying to say? He is trying to say that your most valuable asset is not equity, not real estate. It is you. That is why it is so important that we develop our own personalities, our own skills, which we sadly lack in India. We have to develop it where we are so well above average that people immediately, the moment they look at us, they know, okay, this person is something different. This person has a certain value. This is what Warren Buffett was saying. And in the human resources language, this is called your human capital. Human capital. When we talk about buying shares, when we talk about investing in a business, that is equity capital. Human capital, equity capital. Of the two, according to Warren Buffett, who is supposed to be an expert on investment, of the two, he says human capital is higher. Human capital is higher. Take his own company, Berkshire Hathaway. Berkshire Hathaway is not one of the greatest companies in the world or the most profitable simply because it's Berkshire Hathaway. It's because of the human capital behind it. The two partners, Charlie Munger and Warren Buffett. It's the human capital that got them there. So the human capital is the most important thing. If you are the best in any line of endeavor, that will be recognized, that will have monetary value. Then he says, the second best investment is in a good company. So look at the perspective in which he has placed this. The second best investment is the stock market. So this is a wonderful saying for us always to remember, because we many times do not make use of our full earning potential. Many times we do not take the trouble to develop our own selves, and it's not so difficult to do it. I myself have not been highly qualified at all. Whatever small qualifications I have, I do not advertise. I have done it simply by taking up good books and reading them, and where possible by looking for good people to give me the knowledge, to consult. When we talk about the stock market, there are only one or two things that are reasonably reliable about the stock market. Rest of the time you cannot predict it. The first is, in the long run, the market always goes up. This is a remarkable graph showing about 215-year stock price movements in the United States. 215 years. Somewhere around 1787 or so, right till 2000. The worst ever fall, where stock prices fell 89%, was during the 1929 Great Depression, 1929 to 1932. In a period of almost 3 years, stock prices fell 89%. That you can see here. But when you view it, even as a 215-year line, even that does not appear to be very big. If somebody had held on for a long time, 10, 15, 20 years later, once again the prices would have gone up from there, even after that. So in the long run, I am trying to tell you, the markets go up. Warren Buffett says this: in the 20th century, the United States endured 2 world wars and other traumatic and expensive military conflicts, the Depression, a dozen or so recessions and financial panics, oil shocks, a flu epidemic, and the resignation of a disgraced president, that was President Nixon. Yet the Dow rose from 66 to 11,497. All these kind of things, booms, recessions, panics, shocks, if you see the amount of panic that has been created in the world in the last 1 month. And in India, the markets fell something like 19% or 20% at the most. 19 to 20% is not a fall. It is a joke. Even to consider that, okay, the markets are falling, they should fall at least 25%. And if they fall 50%, that is no cause to be disheartened. That is a cause to celebrate. Very rarely do we get those opportunities. That is the time when you should be putting every last rupee in the market. Because at that point of time, the stock markets have virtually no risk. They turn out to be very, very safe. But that is not what the media will tell you. The media will tell you how the markets have hit so many year low, so many trillion rupees wiped out of investors' wealth. All these things are happening. So they are focusing on the threats. The investors will always focus on the opportunities. The second thing that we can be reasonably confident about is that the rate of growth of equity investments comfortably exceeds the rate of inflation. Let's quickly look at a few statistics. This was from the Central Statistical Organization of the Government of India. In this period of 30 years, 30 years is a reasonably good period to value these. This was the inflation rate. You can see what I said, what Timothy Green says about gold. In the long run, the returns on gold, and the inflation rate roughly equal. Silver actually did better than gold. Silver did gold. And the bank fixed deposits, the public provident fund, these are all the average rates in that 30-year period, and what the sensitive index gave you in that same period. So our first reliable truth is, in the long run, the market goes up. Number two, in the long run, the rate of growth on equity generally exceeds inflation. This is once again a 200-year history of the US stock market. You see here these two lines. The bold line is the inflation rate, CPI, as you can see there. And the dotted line, that is this line, is gold, how gold has performed. You see once again what Timothy Green is saying. In the long run, the two, sometimes one will be up, sometimes the other will be up, but roughly you're going to get the returns same as the inflation rate. So gold will certainly preserve the value of your money. It will not help you grow rich. To help you grow rich, something should exceed the value of inflation. So this is a very important point. And coming to put things in the context where we are concerned, 3rd of April 1979, the index had a value of 124. 22nd January, yesterday, 24,436. This is the compounded annualized return that we have got on the Sensex in this almost 30 odd years. If you see gold was 100 rupees in 1950. Now about 66 years later, it's 26,154. These are the returns, 8.8% compounded per annum. Now, of course, here I've just taken where gold was 100. So this is 66 years, this is about 36 years. This is not a good comparison. So let's get the comparison correct to the same period. It was 937. Today it is so and so. These are the returns. And the inflation rate has been almost exactly that at the consumer level. Once again, so this is about almost 37 years. This is also almost 37 years. These are the figures that we come out with where gold and the stock market are concerned. So for wealth enhancement, it is not gold. For preservation, gold is fine. Gold is absolutely fine. 1 or 2 questions have been asked to me about gold. And these questions have come from people's experience. Therefore, and they have some value. I think it was in 1990 or so that late 1990, Iraq invaded Kuwait. There were a number of our Indians who were working in Kuwait. Suddenly they were thrown into total uncertainty. What to do? What's going to be our situation? When you are in a foreign country, the first thing that you want to do is you want to get back to your home country. Now, fortunately for Indians, the Iraqis were not against Indians. They were quite familiar with Indians because they were also watching Bollywood movies, and that is probably the only value I have seen there in Bollywood movies. But because of that, they were friendly with Indians, and they were willing to take Indians to the nearest possible airport, put them on planes and send them back to India. But you had to pay for getting there. For your transport charges, for other charges, you had to pay. How do you pay? The moment one country had invaded the other, nobody had Iraqi currency, and the Kuwaiti currency suddenly had no value because nobody knew whether it would continue as a medium of exchange. The country is no longer independent, please note. So how did a good deal of our Indians pay for their safe passage? A few lucky people had a certain currency in dollars. Now, dollar is a global currency. That was accepted. In other cases, the lady of the house had to actually take her jewelry, cut it and offer that jewelry as payment back to India. The question I have been asked is, when you are working somewhere outside India, can gold be a part of your emergency fund? The answer is 100% yes. No doubt about that. But if you want gold to be a part of the emergency fund, it should be kept in the form of standard gold. Standard gold. Nobody should have to cut jewelry or offer jewelry in exchange for a safe pass. You should have a few coins and others, and at the same time, having a few dollar notes also is not a bad idea. It is not at all a bad idea because the dollar is also accepted as a universal currency. If any country fails totally, the economic system fails, immediately what they do is they make the dollar the currency until things can come back later. In Zimbabwe it happened. Zimbabwe had run inflation rates that were running into trillions or millions of percentage points. So by evening, your price of goods would be many times what it was in the morning. And there was a famous joke about Zimbabwe, that if you are in Zimbabwe and you are walking with a suitcase full of Zimbabwe currency, somebody will come, knock you on the head, take your suitcase, open it, throw all the currency and take the suitcase and go. Because the suitcase had more value than all the currency in the suitcase. So inflation was that bad. So how did they solve the problem? They simply had to, at one time, the whole Zimbabwe currency became meaningless. It was probably waste paper would fetch you better returns. They just shifted to the US dollar. That's all. So that currency was totally abandoned. So an emergency fund, these are good questions. You can keep in the form of US dollars so long as the US dollar is recognized and accepted as a global currency. You can keep a little bit in the form of standard gold. Standard gold. But this standard gold you will have to keep in your residence. Because if a calamity occurs of this dimension, you will not be able to go to any bank locker and open it because the bank will be closed. So these are the things that you have to bear in mind. But the reasoning I liked. The reasoning is good. Gold is universally accepted. It has a value.